What if I told you there's an artificial intelligence capable of predicting a market's turn before it even happens? I'm Ignacio Ayago, CEO of Whale Analytics, and you've arrived at the one place where the drive to create aligns perfectly with the goal of winning. Today, I'm going to introduce you to OrionONE, specifically its AI-powered market analysis that is revolutionizing the way smart investors make decisions. So, don't go anywhere, because we're just getting started. All right, let's get to it. But first, let's be honest for a moment. Analyzing markets is hard. Don't let anyone feed you fairy tales. In the end, you spend hours staring at charts, indicators that contradict each other, news you can't even begin to make sense of, let alone interpret. And at the very end of it all, at the end of the day, you're still unsure about what to do. Should I buy, sell, wait, do nothing, or just go watch the latest season of Black Mirror? All that's left is uncertainty and a whirlwind of thoughts running through your head. Everything except knowing what you should do, or at least having the confidence to know for sure. And look, this isn't exactly a secret. In fact, there are official reports, like the latest ones from various central banks, that state up to 90% of investors who lose their money do so because they make decisions driven by emotions, tips, highly subjective systems or indicators, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, these are decisions based on anything but the one criterion that truly matters: data. But honestly, we don't need any institution to come here and tell us this. You know it, I know it, we all know it. So the real question is, why does it keep happening? Well, I honestly think it's because there aren't many alternatives for retail or private investors like you, like me, like all of us really. In a way, we're a bit exiled from the financial system. We're kind of the outcasts, aren't we? A regulation supposedly designed to protect us, but instead of protecting us, it limits us, interrupts us, and ultimately leaves us stuck in this situation. But what if I told you that you could have an AI co-pilot like the one you're seeing here, like the analysis I'm bringing you today, fresh from OrionONE for this video? What if it could tell you the exact probability of an economic recession in the coming months, identify overbought and oversold zones with surgical precision, project future prices with confidence bands so you know the likelihood of those outcomes, and alert you, before anyone else, that the market is about to change direction? That's exactly what OrionONE does, and you're going to discover it here with me today. And let me make one thing clear. This isn't magic. It's not some guru system, and it's definitely not a miracle solution. It's simply technology and data science. It's progress, the application of artificial intelligence to the world of investing. This is simply OrionONE. So let's dive into the analysis. All right, let's get to it. But I don't want to drag this out too much. This isn't a tutorial video. This is simply about bringing OrionONE's analysis down to earth so you can see how to use it, what you can get out of it, how to apply it to your trading strategy, how it can help enhance your investment decisions, and so on. For those who want to dive deeper, how to use it, how to get the most out of it, what to use for what, how to really squeeze its potential, already know that within the dashboard, at the top right of your profile, there's an option to download the manual. There, you'll find a comprehensive guide covering everything OrionONE has to offer, so you can master it and use it like a pro. Additionally, you know that within our private community, you have access to both other users and the Whale Analytics team. You can chat with them directly or use the bot room to ask any questions and resolve any doubts you might have. Plus, we're constantly uploading and recording videos to help you keep learning and improving. Let me tell you right away that this isn't difficult, that you don't need to be a nuclear technician to figure out how to use this. The whole point of this is to simplify what's complicated, not to make it harder, so there's no need for anyone to feel intimidated. All right, with that said, let's dive into the analysis. The first thing I want you to do is take a look at this section here. Let's zoom in. And now, what do we have here? What we have here is the investment thermometer, and it shows you exactly which phase of the economic cycle we're in. Not an approximation, not a guess. It shows the exact cycle based on the analysis of a multitude of top-tier macroeconomic indicators, as you'll see in a moment. And you see this marker here? It tells you precisely whether we're in expansion, contraction, recovery, and so on. And not only that, it also tells you which sectors are likely to perform best or have the greatest advantage in each of these cycles at any given moment, so you know which markets you should focus on and which ones you shouldn't. Imagine having this kind of edge while other investors are still trying to guess what's going to happen. But wait, because it gets even better. Let's move on to another indicator. Take a look at this one up here, the recession probability indicator. Let's zoom in on it. And here it is, front and center. What is this indicator? Well, it's the closest thing you'll ever have to an economic crystal ball. In other words, a Bloomberg terminal analyst pays 20,000 euros a year to access similar data. And here you have it, enhanced, AI processed, simplified, and ready to use. Do you see this blue line? It's the same baseline indicator that the Federal Reserve of the United States uses to make decisions on interest rates and so on. That's the level we're working with here in OrionONE. It has literally predicted every recession over the past 50 years. And I mean every single one. The 2002 recession, 2008, the COVID-19/20 crisis, the tariff-related downturn a few months ago, and so on. And how can you use this indicator to your advantage? It's actually very simple. Do you see this red line? Well, it shows you the probability of a recession 12 months in advance. When it crosses the 40% threshold, here on the left, you can see the levels. It's time to go defensive with your investments. There's no mystery, no secret, no additional knowledge or experience required to interpret it. How much is this worth to you? I mean, how much is it worth to know months in advance, before the rest of the investors you're competing against, when the next recession is coming, and to be able to position yourself accordingly? That's the question you need to answer. And now, let's move on to the next part. Let's focus here on the central analysis, the core analysis of OrionONE, but especially on its predictive component. All right, let's zoom in. And what do we have here? Well, now comes the good part. Why? Because this is the undeniable pivotal moment where the gap, the difference between a human analyst, no matter how skilled, and the power of artificial intelligence becomes crystal clear. This is the heart of OrionONE. Do you see this blue line extending forward? This is the line of the future. It's not just any line. It's the projection that OrionONE's artificial intelligence generates synthetically to show you, with high probability, the future of the market. And what does it take into account? It combines data such as structural trends within the market itself, future economic cycles that could positively or negatively impact the market, market dynamics based on investor behavior, when they buy, how often they buy, how much they sell, and so on, and the specific DNA of the asset itself, in other words, its personality, to simplify the concept and avoid getting too technical. And do you see these bands above and below? These bands indicate the probable range. Green for an optimistic scenario, red for a pessimistic one, within which market volatility is likely to move. But here's where the real secret lies. In these triangles and circles you're seeing. Do you see them clearly? Here they are. Well, the green ones are telling you, get ready to buy, while the red ones are shouting, it's time to sell. It's like having the answers to the test ahead of time. All of this, of course, comes with its statistics and metrics, which you can see here on the left as the legends. These legends are directly extracted from the backtesting that OrionONE performs whenever we request an analysis. In other words, we operate with objectivity, reality, and probabilities, always focusing on positive expected value. And what does this mean for you? Let me make it simple. It means you no longer have to spend endless hours doing backtesting and running all kinds of highly biased tests. Why? Because the results of years of backtesting for every single component of the analysis are already here in the legends, ready for you to use. This way, you can immediately understand how it works and which indicator or condition performs better or worse in one market or another. We've already done the work. We know that backtesting, understanding how a specific indicator or signal behaves, is crucial. That's why, when you request an analysis from OrionONE, we include the backtesting process and provide you with the results. This saves you from doing things the way they were done 15 years ago. Maybe some people still do it that way, but back then, you'd take charts, moving averages, the RSI, or some custom indicator, and when they gave signals, you'd manually mark them, running back tests to see if they were profitable or not. And then, in the end, you'd realize the indicator repainted, and none of it was worth anything. We already know what you need because we're investors just like you. We simplify it and deliver it to you even before you realize you need it. Now, let's move on to the next section, a very interesting one. Oscillators. These are the indicators you see here below. But there's one thing we need to keep in mind. Traditional oscillators, like the RSI or the stochastic, are completely outdated. In case you didn't know, let me tell you now. Most of them, like the RSI and the stochastic, date back to the 1950s. When they were designed, no one could have imagined that by 2025, people like you and me would be participating in the market, buying and selling from the comfort of our sofas, as easily as ordering a pizza on an app. It was simply beyond their imagination. They were created for a completely different scenario, for a completely different type of investor, and so on and so forth. They're outdated. No, beyond outdated. It goes without saying that they're completely obsolete. I can't understand how, even today, people still dare to use them. Now, picture this scenario. Imagine for a moment that there could exist an indicator with no ceiling and no floor. In other words, an indicator that goes beyond the typical. Nothing like an RSI, where overbought conditions can keep climbing higher and higher without limit, or vice versa. Imagine an indicator created by the market itself, specifically for that market and no other. And here's the exciting part. Stop imagining and take a look at this right here. Let me zoom in for you, and let's talk about the NetBrut oscillator. All right, when the price enters the green zone, an area of extreme oversold conditions, historically, 85% of the time, it bounces back, triggering a market reversal. The same applies in reverse, with overbought signals. And you might ask, how can we know this? How can we be sure this is real and reliable? Well, it's simple. Unlike traditional indicators like the RSI and others, which come with pre-calculated levels and rigid mathematical formulas, offering zero flexibility to adapt to the market. This is different. Those typical indicators are the same for every market. You just drag and drop them onto a chart and hope for the best, praying they'll show you something useful. But let's be honest, that rarely happens. On the contrary, we have this type of indicator like the NetBrut indicator, which is specifically calculated and generated for the market we are analyzing. It didn't exist. This indicator didn't exist until we requested this analysis. When the AI analyzes the market, it creates it and presents it to us. That's the concept I want you to grasp. Once it analyzes the market, it designs the indicator and shows it to us, then establishes the reversal levels at the key point where the market has demonstrated a turning point with an 85% probability. This isn't luck, nor is it magic. It's simply data science. To help you understand the concept of a traditional indicator versus an intelligent indicator, what we call business intelligence, or in this case, market intelligence, let me explain. An intelligent indicator, calculated directly from the market in a smart way, provides us with a fundamental advantage. It's like a glove perfectly tailored to fit a hand. Nothing more, nothing less. Gone, and best left behind, is the mindset where we must adapt ourselves to the market. It is time to embrace a flexible, adaptive mentality, one where, thanks to artificial intelligence And without needing to lift a finger, we create our own real-time indicators tailored to each individual market. In other words, it's not about taking a market, dragging it along, praying and fiddling with levels to see if something shows up. Maybe it does, but a month later, it's useless. No, this is different. It creates a personalized indicator for the market with the best parameters and configuration, specifically designed with levels tailored to that market's behavior. As a result, the levels it provides, turning points, overbought and oversold zones, impulses, retracements, are real and specific to that market. And what's more, here you have the statistics, once again displayed in the legend to the right, so you can see exactly how it works. When I talk about these indicators, I can't help but picture myself back in the day, for example, when I was younger and went to a typical burger joint. You'd walk in and say, "I'll have a burger, plain or with cheese." That was it. You didn't have many options, with fries or without, plain or with cheese. There wasn't much more to it. That's just how burgers were. But we've evolved, and now there's an astonishing variety of burgers. When you go to a burger place these days, you don't even know what to order because there are so many choices. Well, I think even burgers have evolved in the 21st century. So it's about time, in my opinion, for the world of investing to evolve as well. Simply put, if we're not going to work every day in a cart pulled by donkeys, then I don't think we should still be using an RSI or an MACD to analyze a modern market. That's just my personal reflection. I'll leave it there for you. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I respect them all, but that's mine. Now then, having already looked at this indicator, which shows us the market's turning points, retracement zones, and buy and sell signals, it's time to move on to the next indicator, the one we have here below. I'd say this is one of my favorites, not because it's the best, not because it's better than the others, but because it's the one I use the most, especially in day trading, and it's none other than the intentions oscillator. This oscillator literally tells you when the market is forming a bottom or a top. And not only that, it also gives you the win rate, the probability of success. But it's not just any probability of success. It's the win rate, meaning the accuracy rate, the success rate of each component within the indicator. If we look over here to the left, we see two legends. Each of these legends is crafted and designed to correspond to each of the signals we see in the indicator. For example, as we can see below, it shows us a floor level, tells us the average return, where we should set a stop loss, where we should start positioning ourselves, where we should exit, and so on and so forth. In the end, it's like having a professional trader whispering in your ear, explaining how the market is behaving, what's happening. And, as I said, the great advantage of this is that on the left-hand side, you have the legends with the backtesting for everything. If floor signals don't work well in a particular market, I simply don't use them. I stick to reversal signals, pivot points, long entry signals. We also have break-even securing signals, which provide us with management cues, and so on. In other words, every component of the analysis has its own backtesting, which we show you in the legend so that you can understand what works best in each market and what suits your needs better, whether it's scalping, day trading, swing trading, and so on. So, here we can basically sum it all up in two words: simplicity and speed. And do you know what the best part is? Everything happens in real time. That means when you request an analysis in OrionONE, everything is executed using the latest available data from the real market, macroeconomic indicators, market sentiment, investor buy and sell trends, social media activity, news, the financial state of companies, and not just companies, but also cryptocurrencies, forex, any market data you ask for. It gathers everything the moment you say, "Analyze this market for me," and it's ready for you. Essentially, while others spend hours analyzing, you have 8 synchronized panels here that provide you with clear signals, color-coded like a traffic light, so you can make decisions in seconds instead of hours. Traditional analysis, where I come from, because I started in the world of investing many years ago, and for better or worse, I had to go through that. Traditional analysis, the kind that people still do, involves spending 3 or 4 hours analyzing, juggling 10 indicators, 5, 6, 7. Adding more and more. Then we try to simplify because it's overwhelming. But when we simplify, we realize we can't see anything. So we start adding again, only to find it's too much once more, and we end up removing things. In the end, it's total confusion. With OrionONE, in just 30 seconds, we can make a clear decision with total confidence, backed by the win rate and the mathematical probabilities of everything included in the analysis. In the end, what stands out here are the results. The numbers speak for themselves. We have the backtesting for everything. Ultimately, the difference lies in having an artificial intelligence co-pilot by your side or flying completely blind. Honestly, this is a tool we all need. It's the present of investing. Not having this kind of tool and trying to operate in today's market would be like going to war with sticks and stones while everyone else is armed with tanks and machine guns. So, the question here isn't whether you need it or not, or whether you can afford it. The price is so low it's almost laughable. The real question is, how much does your money matter to you? And, more importantly, how much do your future results matter? Based on your answer, decide what you want to do from this moment forward. Because it's clear, you can keep losing money with outdated analyses, letting emotions control your investments, browsing websites and videos for tips, hoping to copy what others are doing. Or you can join the artificial intelligence revolution in trading today. But in the end, the choice is yours. What is clear is that OrionONE is not just a tool. It's a competitive advantage in a market where information is power. Don't doubt for a second that the future of trading is already here, and its name is OrionONE. And always remember, in the markets, it's not the strongest who wins, but the smartest. And with OrionONE, intelligence is on your side. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next ones. Take care and see you next time.